Jonathan Taylor, running back 22. What the fuck are we doing here? How is Marlon Mack going 4 rounds later? Like, it's like Marlon Mack's going to lead the team in carries, I think. I could be wrong.
You're listening to Let's Talk Fantasy Football, where men of fantasy genius have realized, hey guys, we don't need real football skills to dominate on the fantasy field. Yeah. So slap on your pads and grab your helmet. Shit's about to get real.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, to another edition of Let's Talk Fantasy Football. I am your host tonight. My name is Nick Schreck, and I am joined by the one, the only Nick Walsh. Walsh, how you doing?
I'm doing great, man. We're ready to get into the last 2 teams of the AFC South, and we're just cruising through these divisions, man. It's like easy like Sunday morning going through these.
It's a beautiful thing, man. It's also scary because we're really not as far off to fantasy football drafts as many people think. And I've been talking with some people lately, and they still remain skeptical about what's going to happen with the NFL. I saw the Ravens come out today saying that if they're allowed to even have fans, it's going to be at like 14,000 max per game. So that part is still a lot to be seen. But as far as I'm concerned, we're chugging forward, and fantasy drafts are going to be the best time of the year as always.
Yeah, I've kind of just assumed that they're going to play without fans for the entire time. I didn't know that was even like a thing people were still trying to make happen. That seems wildly aggressive and wildly bad. But anyway, as long as they get the games in, I mean, the whole deal is fucking TV rights anyway, right? Like they can be a profitable fucking organization with just the TV rights, but whatever.
Stadiums are pennies, man. What they make are pennies compared to the TV.
Yeah. So, I mean, I'm not an economist, nor do I know. I have a degree in sport management. I know something about this. So, I'm sure the billionaire NFL owners can take 1 year of empty arenas. But anyway, it's you never know with those guys. They're very, very greedy. We've seen what happened with baseball and their owners. But anyway.
Sure. Mahomes
I think it'll work out.
Just got almost $1 billion. They can afford to just have some TV deals pay him this year.
Seriously,
they clearly are not afraid to spend money. So they're going to be, I think, just fine. But Walsh, let's jump into part 2 here of the AFC South. We've got the Colts. And we've got the Titans. We've already hit the Jacksonville Jaguars and the Houston Texans. If you guys have missed that, please go back, listen to part 1. We got some good, some bad, and decent amount of ugly, depending on what team you kind of hone in on. Cough Leonard Fournette. But definitely take a look, guys. Big Tyler Eifert fan over here in Walsh, and you'll understand why when you listen to part 1. But Walsh, let's start with the Colts. Colts side of the ball here. They obviously have had some offseason changes here. Phillip Rivers comes over, takes over the helm after dedicating his life really to the Chargers. And now he's leading the way at QB 22, first pick in the 14th round. He gets $25 million for a one-year deal, which is great for him. But other than that, he's a QB2 just doing his thing.
Yeah, I mean, he's clearly an upgrade over Jacoby Brissett, who was, I would say below average, like not like terrible, but just below average last year. He wasn't a guy who was going to lead you to any wins on his own. So Rivers is an upgrade on him, but like also Rivers wasn't good last year. Yeah. He wasn't the Phillip Rivers of years before. He was quarterback 23 in points per game. He didn't, and that was done with a skill position group that I think is better than what he's coming into here in Indianapolis. He was 16th in adjusted yards per attempt. He was 17th in passer rating, and he was 22nd in QBR. None of those scream like huge upgrade for this offense to me. So at quarterback 22, like sure, whatever. But would I rather draft Gardner Minshew ahead of him? You bet your sweet ass I would.
Minshew mania, baby. Walsh is on the train.
That was like I mean, like leading up to this, doing this division, I was comparing the two of them, and I was like, I think Gardner Minshew's a better quarterback than Phillip Rivers, but Don will crucify me for saying that, but it's really not that, like, I don't know, like the Colts are the Vegas favorite right now to win this division. They've got a win total of 9, and like I just don't see it.
I'm with you. I think 9 is. I mean, look, we talked about it in part 1. It's a shit show of a division, right? On who's really going to come out on top, and you can make the argument for 3 teams to do so. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, I guess maybe they're bought into the relationships to the head coach and offensive coordinator. He gets a pretty good offensive line, I think, comparatively to what he's seen in his career. I don't know. I don't know what Vegas sees, but unfortunately, they tend to see the things I don't.
That's definitely fair, and that is the one part that is absolutely improving. Is the offensive line is going to be way better than Phillip Rivers has seen in recent years, and maybe in his entire career. So, that's a part where we can bank on him having more time. Maybe he'll use that time to throw the ball downfield more effectively. Looked like he had a fucking wet noodle for an arm last year, so I don't know if that's really going to happen. But yeah, I mean, like I said, 14th round, I don't care what you do. But Phillip Rivers, when I mean, maybe he is because they're playing the Jags week 1, so maybe he is a guy you go after for that week 1 matchup. But I mean, yeah, I don't know. It's tough to have confidence in him after what we saw last year.
Yeah, unfortunately, the good matchup and the good offensive line doesn't fix a wet noodle arm. So, and we've talked about it, Walsh. There's been a couple guys we like their early schedules, guys we can stream. That I think personally I'd have a hard time getting on Phillip, but I know what you're saying. It's something to look at, not that you're recommending it. It's just something to consider.
Yeah, take Teddy Bridgewater instead.
My boy, Teddy. All right, well, let's talk about wide receivers here. You got TY Hilton, who is a staple here for the Colts. You've got Michael Pittman Jr., Paris Campbell, and Zach Pascal, Marcus Johnson. I slow down and think about if I'm even worth wasting my breath on them. But they are there, part of the team. Michael Pittman Jr. comes over as the 34th overall pick in the 2020 draft. T.Y. Hilton obviously leads the way. Walsh, he had a tough season last year. Bit disappointing. We were looking at his stats before here. Do you think he's going to bounce back here with Phillip Rivers?
I mean, he's got to be better than he was last year, where he was hurt for part of the year, and just really wasn't doing much for pretty much the whole year. So I would expect him to be a little bit better. I don't think his price is wrong at wide receiver 20, 3rd pick in the 5th round. It's just hard to have confidence in him to be an elite guy like he has been in the years before. Could he prove us wrong? Like, absolutely. He's a super talented dude, but he's also like not really a young gun too much either. Like, I mean, T.Y. Hilton's going into his age 31 season, and not that wide receiver is like running back where you need to really pay too much attention to it, but I think we've seen the best of T.Y. Hilton already. I don't think we're looking for him to ascend to any further thing in his career at this point.
Yeah, I think you're right. I mean, again, he comes in. He's had a bunch of injuries. He's coming in at 31 years old. He's going to dominate, I think, still the passing game for Indy. But I think he stays on that like wide receiver 3 range if he can stay healthy.
Yeah, that sounds about right to me.
Yeah, that's pretty much what you're putting down. Michael Pittman Jr. though, Walsh, 5th wide receiver 51, 1st pick in the 12th round coming off the board. He had a hell of a senior year at USC. 101 for just short of 1,300 yards and 11 TDs. He runs a 4.52 at the combine. this is reminiscent of some Vincent Jackson, maybe some Mike Williams here for Phillip Rivers. Big guy on the outside that's fast as shit.
Yeah, and we saw how great Mike Williams worked out for Phillip Rivers last year. No, we talked about that in our last podcast about, how he kind of did still perform even though it didn't seem like he was performing. But yeah, Michael Pittman's not a guy that I'm actively targeting. I don't think he's really worth that wide receiver 51 pick. Rookie in the COVID year, 1. 2, quarterback that I think has a noodle arm and is past his prime. It doesn't make sense for the guy that he is for me to really actively go after him. Do you have a ton on Michael Pittman, or can I move on to Paris Campbell because I have things to say?
Nah. Tell me all about Paris Campbell.
Okay, so we know how much Phillip Rivers likes throwing to the running backs, right? Like that's always been a huge thing with him.
Absolutely.
Marlon Mack has not gotten a ton of pass game usage. Jonathan Taylor won't. Naheem Hines, I think, is going to be buried behind the two of them. Not expecting much from him. Paris Campbell runs short area routes and runs in the slot similar to a running back. And he's actually a guy who has played running back at points in his college career. He's the guy that I want in terms of like a late round flyer. Like Michael Pittman in the 12th, no thank you. Paris Campbell in the 15th, absolutely. Because he's a guy who I think they're going to really try and incorporate. He was a guy that a lot of people were pumped on coming out of Ohio State for his rookie year, but he was plagued with injuries the whole year. And he really is sort of a hybrid short area player. Get the ball in his hands and see what he can do with it. So that's what I think that Phillip Rivers is going to excel at this point in his career. And I think Paris Campbell has a chance to have a real breakout season.
I couldn't be more on board with you, Walsh. And his injury history his injuries from last year seem to be a fluke, right? He missed one game during his last 3 seasons at Ohio State. So he really didn't have an injury history coming in. So I think it was just kind of bad luck for him last year. So I think now that he's healthy, he has an opportunity to excel here with Phillip Rivers. I think he gets fed, and I think he is a green light buy in Dynasty, Best Ball, redraft, anywhere you're drafting. I think Paris Campbell should be on your board.
Yeah, 100 targets is like not unrealistic at all.
No, for an undrafted guy.
Yeah, which is wild, but we'll see. Maybe we'll bump him up some draft boards by the time the drafts are actually happening. But that's I'm glad to hear that you're on the. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I'm just gonna say I agree. I think we'll see an ADP on him by the time we get to drafts.
Yeah, I mean, I'm glad to hear that you're on the same page as I am, because I looked at those and looked at the draft positions and was like, am I like fucking like real dumb or what? Like it doesn't really make sense. But anyway, we can move on from there.
ADPs, people love to go do stupid shit when it comes to ADPs, Walsh. You know that, especially at this time of year. People are drafting just often names without actually looking at the actual fallout and how they fit kind of into these offenses.
For sure.
They're rookies and people are buying. So, tight end. We got to pour one out here. Eric Ebron, no longer here with the Colts.
RIP.
Yeah, that's our guy. So very, very sad. But Jack Doyle takes back over as the Colts' primary tight end following Ebron's exit. He played 74% in these 2019 snaps. But only had 4.5 targets a game, which for those of you keeping track at home is below the 6 target threshold here for Walsh. Ebron averaged 4.7. But when Ebron got hurt, Doyle's target average rose to 6.0. Sure, he had Jacoby. The magic number. Although they were thrown by Jacoby Brissett. He gives you a nice safe floor, I think. It gets you to about that 6 number. Obviously, got Phillip Rivers at the helm, but I don't even know if he has an ADP.
Doyle?
I don't have a problem with the ADP price. Yeah, tight end 20, 10th in the 14th round. Not somebody I'm necessarily targeting, but somebody I think to watch.
Yeah, he's definitely an interesting look. I'm a little concerned about the guys behind him, who are Trey Burton, who was a guy we thought was an ascending tight end up until 2 years ago when he went to the Bears and became a black hole. And then Mo Alley Cox, who is a guy who's like slowly but surely become more and more of a thing over the past couple of years. He's another former basketball guy. And I'm not saying that he's like a thing that you should be targeting or trying to play or anything, but I think he's got enough of a situation where like, and I think Burton and Alley Cox, between the two of them, have like enough of a situation where it's concerning for Doyle. It concerns me for that 6 target threshold, because if we've got 3 tight ends and Doyle's more of the blocking tight end, and the other 2 are more of the, Burton as the seam buster and Alley Cox as maybe the red zone threat, then that concerns me a little bit. But again, at tight end 20, like, what are you really doing at that point other than throwing darts and maybe looking for some safe options? So, yeah, sure.
Sweet deal. Walsh, let's talk about the running back position here. We've got Marlon Mack leading the way. He's come forward, running back 39, 6th pick in the 8th round. Running back 22, 2nd pick in the 4th round, is Jonathan Taylor, who became arguably the running back of the present and the future when they traded up for him in the 2nd round of the draft. And then you've got good old Nyheim Hines, running back 55, 5th pick in the 12th round, and Jordan Wilkins, completely undrafted.
Yeah, I mean, I mentioned Nyheim Hines, as I think Paris Campbell is going to take his role as a close proximity pass catcher. So not a guy I'm targeting at all. Jonathan Taylor, I love, out of Wisconsin. He was an incredibly productive back, but his skill set is almost the exact same as the way that they've used Marlon Mack over the past couple of years, where he's an early down bruiser. The comp for him for a lot of people coming out of this draft was Zeke, which it took Zeke a couple of years to really develop as a pass catcher in the NFL. I love Jonathan Taylor in the long term. I think he's extremely talented. I think he's got the capability to have like 1,500 rushing yard seasons. But again, during the COVID offseason, with Marlon Mack still on the roster and with Marlon Mack with 1 more year on the contract before they can just let him walk, Jonathan Taylor at running back 22, what the fuck are we doing here? How is Marlon Mack going 4 rounds later? Like, Marlon Mack's going to lead the team in carries, I think. I could be wrong, but I'd say like 65-35. Marlon Mack's going to lead this team in carries, and we're drafting the rookie who's not going to lead the team in carries, most likely fucking 4 rounds ahead of him. Am I Mugatu here? Am I taking crazy pills, Shrek?
You are not taking crazy pills, Walsh. You're drinking some fucking deliciousness over there, and you're right on the right track. Because your camera's off, I don't know what you're drinking. I could guess.
It's Miller High Life.
There it is. Fucking Millers, baby. It makes no sense. I mean, you look at who's going around Taylor. You got Chris Carson, 2 picks before him. A couple of picks later, Devin Singletary, David Montgomery, Raheem Mostert, Mark Ingram. And just looking alone at this team, you're not going to pay up. We talk about this. We've talked about this with another podcast with the rookies, how they just continue to fly up fucking draft boards, and it's outrageous that he's being drafted where he is over Marlon Mack.
He's not a pass catcher is the thing. It's like, I know we want someone who's going to be a pass catcher for the Colts, but like, it's either going to be Hines or Mack, because Mack at least has the college skill set, even though they haven't used him like that in the pros. Jonathan Taylor has no history of it, so he has to be the early down and goal line guy. And he's like, I don't even think he's going to be that. I don't know. It's just, it's crazy, man. Like, I don't get it.
He dropped 8 of 50 catchable targets in school. He gained next to no pass blocking experience in his college career. He also fumbled 18 times in 3 seasons with the Badgers. So I think he needs to get some things right. Maybe long-term he does just that. But for 2020 and a 4th round draft pick, after we look at the fucking disaster that the 3rd round is going to be a hard no from me.
Yeah, I'm glad I got some sort of, again, backup on that. With that and the pair, like, looking at this team and the ADPs, like, I've just had so many questions. But are you in at all on Hines with that running back 55 12th round pick?
No. I want nothing to do with team highs. He poses, to me, no threat to Taylor Mack, any of this kind of stuff going on here.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah, I think we can agree Marlon Mack's the one to target if you're gonna.
Yep, and so is Paris Campbell. If you're gonna spend the money, and really when we say spend the money, right now you could end up with two great guys for essentially an 8th round pick and a free pick. When you look at this offense, which is pretty wild. The two best guys.
Too bad.
Not too shabby at all, Walshy. Anything else on the Colts for the people?
Now let's move to the Titans.
All right, guys, we're going to take a quick break, and then we're going to talk Tennessee Titans.
Have you thought about trying sports betting but aren't sure how it'll go? Our friends at FanDuel are giving away a $50 sign-up bonus at letstalkfantasyfootball.com/FanDuel-sportsbook.
All right, guys, we are back, and we are here to talk the Tennessee Titans. Titans football, Ryan Tannehill comes in, ends up, we'll call it saving the Titans. In 10 games last year, Walsh, he has a 70.3% completion rate, which was a career high, 2,700 passing yards, 22 passing touchdowns with 6 picks. He posted a 117.5 quarterback rating, which was also a career high. He was exactly what the Tennessee Titans needed last year, and who the hell knew it?
It certainly wasn't me.
none of us did.
Yeah, I mean, you said it. Tannehill he came in and became the most efficient quarterback basically of all time for half a season, which is wild. 10.2 adjusted yards per attempt. Next highest last year was Matt Stafford, who only played 9 games at 9.1 yards adjusted per attempt. And then Mahomes and Lamar Jackson were at 8.9. So Tannehill was, 1.3 yards ahead of Mahomes and Jackson in terms of that stat last year. This year he's going at quarterback 20, the 12th pick in the 13th round. I think that's a clear sign of how far the fantasy community has come in terms of overcoming recency bias. Yes. Because you would think after a performance like that, Tannehill would be a very high draft pick, but he's absolutely not. I'm fine with him at that price.
Yeah. It was kind of how we talked about with Doyle, literally a couple minutes ago, was before the break. When you're talking about that price, I don't have an issue with it. I'm not necessarily targeting Ryan Tannehill, but at QB 20, fuck it.
Yeah, I mean, we shouldn't expect Ryan Tannehill to be the most efficient quarterback in the league for 2020. I think that's pretty safe to say. But, he's a guy with some rushing upside as well, which I think is important to factor in. Yeah. Those 1 to 2 fantasy points per game from the run game. And then, the Titans aren't going to do exactly what they did last year, but I don't see why they can't have some sort of, 70 to 80% replica of what they did last year. So, yeah, Tannehill seems like a pretty good value pick at that point.
Yeah, no, I agree. It continues to cement what we talked about with QB. QB is so fucking deep. And we were talking about Deshaun Watson before on part 1 being QB 6, and how he could be higher up in his tier or down. There's just so many options at the position for you guys in fantasy. You really have to look at the big picture. It's not just about the top 10 guys.
Yeah, 100%.
All right, Walsh, let's talk about the wide receivers here. We got A.J. Brown. Actually, just to note, they do have Logan Woodside at QB, and they also drafted Cole McDonald in the 7th round out of Hawaii.
I love Cole McDonald. He chucks the ball, he just makes terrible decisions all the time and chucks the ball down the field. Love him.
I can see why you like him.
It is worth noting that they don't have jack shit behind Tannehill this year. If Tannehill goes down, that team is fucked, real fucked. But anyway.
Which could be scary because as we're about to talk about the wide receivers, there could be some fallout there. But A.J. Brown coming off the board at 8th pick in the 4th round, wide receiver 18. Corey Davis, Adam Humphries, Khalif Raymond. all those guys are going undrafted. A.J. Brown, the only one coming off the board. He's the go-to guy for Ryan Tannehill. He's received 61 of his 84 targets in games that Tannehill started. That's a 22.6% target share. I mean, what's there not to love here about A.J. Brown? Tannehill stays at the helm, continues to target the shit out of him, and I don't think 22.6% target share is unrealistic once again.
No. I mean, I expect that as a minimum. Honestly, I might expect a little bit more this year. But A.J. Brown is a guy who he averaged the most like yards per target of any wide receiver last year by like a ton, by several yards. We don't need that though for him to produce at that level this year, because I think we can project a lot more targets. I think we can project him to be a 120, maybe 130, depending on if the run game is as good as it was last year while Tannehill was in. Maybe it's not. Maybe the defense isn't as good. They fall behind a little bit. A.J. Brown's going to get the targets. He's super talented. He's not a guy that we should automatically assume is an outlier. Like, we've talked about it in the past weeks, like the Tyreek Hill outlier and that kind of thing. Sure. Derrick Henry as an outlier. Like, we shouldn't assume that A.J. Brown is an outlier just yet, but we can assume that he is very good and he's going to see increased volume. So the price seems about right to me.
Yeah, I'm totally on board with the price. And actually, as I look at him here, he's been about steady over the past month. I was just trying to see if his ADP really changed at all. Within a pick or two, he's kind of stayed steady. He's going in the neighborhood of Robert Woods, Calvin Ridley, DK Metcalf, T.Y. Hilton, DJ Shark, who we talked about earlier on.
That all sounds like pretty much right in line with what I would expect.
Yeah. When it comes to the other guys here, Walsh, I mean, Corey Davis he's had his shot. He's just never lived up to the hype. It's possible that he could get his shit together, but it's not going to be on my roster.
Yeah, I mean, maybe like last pick in the draft, and then like hope he becomes this year's Devontae Parker, where he's so post-hype that no one gives a shit, and he finally does it. But not terribly likely.
No. And the rest of these guys, we can share the sentiment, right?
Yeah, I think we can move on from there.
All right, tight end Walsh, Jonnu Smith, tight end number 17, 12th pick in the 13th round. Also have Anthony Fursker here and Michael Pruitt at tight end. So a couple options. And, I mean, again, for me, that's Jonnu Smith got his shit together, set career highs in targets, receptions, and receiving yards, tied his career high in receiving TDs with only 3, finished the season as tight end 19 in PPR formats, tight end number 13, week 7 through 16. A lot of hype, right? Delaney Walker's gone. Opportunities are going to be there for him, hopefully, with some red zone targets. He was second on the Titans in red zone targets with 7 last year, and they lost Sharp and Walker, who had 10 red zone targets. I think that there's some pieces here for Jonnu Smith to put it together.
Yeah, I mean, he could. I'm a little skeptical because even after Delaney Walker was like done for the season, Ferkser took a decent amount of snaps from Jonnu Smith. He still wasn't like a full-time tight end, which is what we're really looking for. But if he becomes a non-full-time tight end that is, still a priority target, then that's fine. I don't think he gets the targets consistently enough. Again, I don't think he hits that 6 per game threshold this year. So I'm not really going after it, particularly just because I don't think this offense is going to be as good as it was in the second half last year. And he was hardly an every week starter, even in that second half last year. Not for me. But again, it's tight end 17. We're not talking like you need to spend a premium pick on the guy. So.
Correct. Somebody to, in my opinion, at least keep your eye. Maybe he gets his shit together. But let's talk about the hottest part of this team, Walsh, which is the running game. Obviously led by Derrick Henry, running back 6 overall off the board, the 9th pick in the first round. I'm going to let you rattle off the 2 names behind him because we both know I can't pronounce names for shit.
Yeah, so behind him we've got Darrington Evans, who was the 3rd-round pick out of Appalachian State. He is getting drafted, running back 57, 10th pick in the 13th round. And then Kyrie Blazingame, who had one actual start last year in a game that Henry missed, and I think Dion Lewis missed as well. I actually got him started against me in a fantasy championship because Derrick Henry missed the game, and I think he had 3 carries. So needless to say, I won. But anyway, Derrick Henry's really the guy that we need to talk about here. And
sure.
I mean, the guy's a complete stud. He had over 300 carries. He had 20-plus touchdowns. He's fucking incredible. With us projecting the Titans offense to not be as efficient as it was last year, is there any sort of worry? Yeah, for sure. I mean, the guy's still not used in the pass game, right?
Yeah, I mean, what was he? I'm looking, targeted 25 times last season. He caught 18 of them, but that's it.
And I think he could be used more in the pass game. I think in that screen game, that's a situation where they don't really use him as much as they could. But as we don't have any proof right now that's showing us that they're going to use Derrick Henry in the pass game. So why would that be something that I buy into? Darrington Evans is a guy who can catch passes as well, play a similar role as Dion Lewis. So given that I don't think they're going to be as efficient as the second half Titans were last year, I'm fine with targeting Derrick Henry where he is, but I'm also not going out of my way to target him where he is.
Yeah, I mean, again, it's nitpicking, right? Because we're talking about the top of the draft here. I'd be a little bit more comfortable if he fell a couple spots down. I think you're buying him, like you said, at last year's ceiling. I don't think he can quite repeat where he is, but there are some other guys I prefer over him probably in that spot. But he's not going to fall that much down draft boards.
Yeah, you're going to have to spend a 1st-round pick on him if you want him. So, we'll see how it goes. It's definitely not the worst pick that you could be making, but the Titans are an enigma, really, is what it comes down to. They're a team that had historically high efficiency among several of their offensive players for about an 8 to 9 week stretch. And then including the playoffs, you could get that out to 10 to 12 weeks. And it is really hard to say whether that's going to continue or whether the math is going to be correct.
The world may never know. Actually, we will, but it'll take us a bunch of games to get there.
I mean, if COVID has its way, then we won't ever know. But
that's true. But we like to believe at this point that that COVID won't win. COVID won't win. We'll get to see if Ryan Tannehill can actually keep it together after shocking us all last year.
Yeah, seriously.
Walsh, you got anything else on the Titans?
No, I think that's about it. I forget what team or what division we were going to do next, so I was going to promote it, and then I was like, shit, I can't do that.
It's all good, man. I have no idea either. For some reason, no, I was going to guess, but I'm not going to because I'm wrong. But guys, that's going to do it for us here on the AFC South. Part 1 obviously done already, so if you guys haven't listened, go check that out. We've also hit a bunch of others, AFC West, AFC East, NFC South.
NFC North.
NFC North. So for all those teams, all those guys up there, minus really Cam Newton going to the Patriots, everything else is still pretty relevant. So go in, check them out. We'll keep pushing them out to you guys on social. If you have questions, send them in. We know it is still early for some of you, but we promise draft day will be here before you freaking know it. And we can't wait to do the journey with you guys. But enjoy, stay safe, stay healthy, and we will be back with another preview once we figure out which division it is, and we will keep you guys in the loop, guys. But for Let's Talk Fantasy Football, I am Nick Schreck. He is Nick Walsh. We will catch you on the flip side.
This has been Let's Talk Fantasy Football. Thanks for listening.